Hey guys, today I'm excited. I have a package from the mail, something I ordered on eBay. So let me crack it open and show you guys. So this is something I saw on auction and was like, I need to get this because they don't make this thing anymore. Just crack all these open. Super excited when I saw it because I was like, damn, I got it for like a steal. So let me open it up and let's see how much in piece it came. Okay. Oh, nice. Okay. Oh, there's a bunch of garbage on my desk now. But here he is. Grand reveal. Gotta make sure he doesn't. Oh, he's packaged with peanuts in there too. There we go. A Forge World genuine Malanthrope. Look at this guy. Disgusting. Oh, this is so cool. This is so cool. But yeah, check this guy out. I'm gonna have to do a little bit of cleaning on him to get rid of some of the, previous paint job and all that stuff, but he is here. Here is the mountain of wrapping he put them in. Look at that. He's not very tall. I imagined him being taller, but he's about the size of a hobby knife. But yeah, there we go. Just gotta clean him off, and he's perfect. He's got a little bit of damage. That's why he was so cheap. But yeah, look at this, man. Beautiful. Okay, cleaned the mess off my desk. And this is him compared to the standard Malanthrope, which he will be leading. He's much smaller than I imagined. Like, I've never actually looked at pictures of him on a table, but let's get ready to paint this bad boy up. So after looking at him, I've come to a conclusion. I think I have a pair of spare Malanthrope tendrils that I'm going to give to him to kind of proportion his body out a little more. Because if you look at him, there we go. He's a little top heavy. I'd like to give him something, but like, because when you look at him, you're just looking at this part right here. I'd like to give him some things so he just be a little more interesting looking. I don't know. Plus, this one talon's broken, and I think it's just my excuse to get rid of it. Okay. I figured it out. Also, I took off his head. Just so it's easier to paint, and I can get this back shell area. But look what I found in my bits bag. These two talons, or tendrils, lashing arms or something. And I'm just gonna put them right on him, and let's see how that looks. So here he is now, and then I'm just going to one arm and pop off. This came off a lot easier than I thought they would. And I can just throw these back into the bits bag for later use. Let me get some glue out. Okay, since it's a resin model, I'm going to be using Gorilla Glue. And I'm going to just take my hobby knife. And there we go. Just going to kind of scrape away to smooth out the surface on each. Oh, this one's a perfect socket. So let me grab this. It'll go in here. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I like this a lot more. Let me just glue that in. I love this Gorilla Glue. It's perfect for everything. Like, I use plastic glue for most things, but then there's just certain things where this with an applicator, perfect. There we go. And let me just... Now I just got to hold it in place for a second as it glues in. Yeah. Come on. Stay in place, please. This is always like the worst part about like working with things that aren't plastic, because plastic glue is amazing. It'll go on a little wet. There we go. Go on a tiny bit wet, but it'll hold everything and it'll melt them together. But crazy glue, it's not melting anything together. It's just holding it in place. But I'm going to move the arm just a tiny bit, and it completely fell out. So hold on. There we are. Cool, cool, cool. It's still a little wobbly. Okay. Yeah. But yeah, just holding this in place. I snipped off the ball joint because I realized the other joint kind of broke a little weird, so it's not going to be perfect, but go. Oh yeah. I think this gives him a much more, it shows that he was a Malanthrope. So I'm going to do that, let this dry, and then just go up, slap some primer onto him. And his head. There we go. Let me just get a nice... I decided to do it again. And I put them in a much more lower resting position. But there we go. I'm very happy with how this turned out. Alright, I got all the colors I'm going to be using. Hardened Leather, White Star, Morghast Bone, Doomfire Magenta, and Striking Scorpion Green. The paint, or this primer has dried. I got a Malanthrope here for reference because they have to look pretty similar. I don't know if I'm even going to be using the Saddle Brown, but in case. Let's get started. Just gonna start off by pouring some white. That's a little too much. Okay. Pour this up, get my brush wet, and we will start. You're just gonna wet up the brush right here. And just start applying white to the shell part. I always do the white first because if I spill over into anything, the white will, not be as disruptive because it's easier to paint over white than have white be painted. It's easier to paint over white than to try to paint white over something. Yes. Can't forget to paint the head, which I almost forgot to do. But yeah, this stuff is called like 2 thin coats, but I've never needed more than 1 coat to use the white at least, and that's maybe, that's because I paint white on top of white primer, but it is great. I used to use White Scar, the Citadel paint, but like those paint pots, I have a problem with this, but there's no other brand that makes this exact Morghast Bone color, so I'm kind of done there, but just gonna do that. And then look at that, look how much whiter that is than the primer. There we go. Now I just need to let this dry for a minute, and look it over, see if I like how white it is. Because I have to remember that most of this white is going to be covered. Most of it's going to have polka dots on it. So if there's ever, you know, I cheat. If there's ever like a spot where I'm like, oh, the white's not that good, but it's only a little spot, I'll just make sure to put a polka dot on top of it. But look how white this is compared to the primer. Like, actually stands out. Alright. It is nice and dry. The only issue I had painting him was this little back ridge right here. And that's only because it's so covered in tendrils that I decided to sloppily put white on, and it's not gonna matter. There we go. Whites are all on. I like the consistency of the white. Let me grab his head. And I'm ready to move on to the skin. There we go. The whites are all done. Nice and dry. Let me find his head. I'm trying to pick it up with the camera. But there we go. Now I just need to move on to the skin. The only part of this shell that gave me issue was right... Let me try to get in focus. Right here and here. The parts where the tendrils are like covering the shell. But I was able to kind of just slap some color in there and be done with it. So, there's that. And now we can move on to painting the skin. Just gonna grab some, smear off the sides. This model is a nice way to grab him, I guess, because I'm gonna paint the tendrils green. So I'm just gonna slap this in, and we are going. There we, can I get this in focus? There we go. I got the head here, there, perfect. Put the head's main coats on, and now I can move on to the body. There we go. These little white spots right here, I'm not super about filling because I'm going to be filling them with lime green. So we are continuing the progress. There we go. All of the skin has been done. I got a little bit on the white claws and I have to redo that, but there we go. All that's left is some green for the sacs of venom, and you can see it on the camera. If I point to it, I'm not going to point to the right spot. There we go. Those little skin tears, I'm going to be filling them with this striking scorpion green. Here's the head. Sort of, there we go. There we go. I'm not too worried about the back part right here because that part's going in here and will never be seen. So, there we go. Okay. There are a couple spots that I just need to touch up. It's very difficult to do with the camera here, but there we go. Just got a couple places that I want to make sure get the right amount. There we go. This is incredibly hard to do because part of me wants to look at the camera, but part of me knows I'm not supposed to. Because if I do and I try to paint by looking through the camera, it's going to do that where I just accidentally brushed onto the white. But it's fine. There we go. Set that down. Grab the head to get one more. Can I get this in focus? Sure. There we go. Just to get a smooth transition from the soon-to-be green that's going to plague this guy's body. There we go. There we go. This is a very hard piece to show off. This is much easier. There we go. Fully done with that. Next, I'm going to do the greens, and then I'm going to touch over some parts with white. And then I got to start doing polka dots. Okay. I'm going to stop showing this one. Oh, no. You got into focus perfectly. So what I did was I went over and I whited all of the open sores this thing has so that I could fill them with the green. The green still works even if I don't fill it, but it looks a little different. So first things first, let me grab my brush. I need a finer tip. There we go. Just a quick touch up. Grab some of this lime green. And you know, I'm just going to show it on this. So yeah, just got to do this now. I figured moving it here was the better decision if I'm doing this side, because then you can actually see me painting it. There we go. I realize I'm not going to be using Doomfire Magenta on them because none of my poison guys have like pink on them. It's all just where there would be pink, there's lime green. This stand is so uncomfortable to hold because it also weighs down the model, and I don't want to hold it too tightly or put too much pressure on it because I don't want it to break. There we go. Did I get... Oh, I thought I had paint on my arm. There. Go. I love contrast paints. They're really strong, and sometimes it's hard to, like, if your model has regular paint right here and then contrast, it looks really weird. But I think for things that are meant to be a little more alien or things that are meant to be, like, gross looking, it looks really cool. There we go. Got the nice little cauliflower broccoli looking pustules filled. Still got to do these whites, these little ones here, and then I got to do some touch-ups because I had a little bit of spillage in the back here. But it's all going. I'm going to put the camera back on this side because I realized I'm left-handed, but I paint with my right. So that's something that's not something I realized, but it is something that is true. So just got to touch this up one more time. Haven't done this head yet. That is awful to show. This is the most difficult part because I'm trying to be as like careful as I can be with this to make sure it doesn't overspill, because that just means I have to do more later if I start overspilling. So let me... There we go. One more here. Nice. It's actually easier just to have less paint. Was my hand covering this the entire time? It's actually much easier to have this done. There we go. Just that. Wonderful. But it's actually much easier to get this done when you have better sight first. But second, when you have less paint on the brush, because you're working with, it's less, so it's easier to control. There we go. Okay. These are all done. All that's left now is the smokestacks. So, just gonna grab him. Need to figure out a way to grab him. Sure. Just gonna come in here. Do little stripes. I'm not too worried about these spilling because, you know, if this is like a poisonous liquid that's inside of him, it's gonna spill out a little bit. Go. Cool, this is one of the ones that has them on both sides. There we go. I gotta do some touch-ups, and then I gotta give it a quick little Null Oil bath, but we are looking good. Okay. Fully done. All the cleanup done. And the head is also done. What I gotta do now is put on a little bit of liquid Skill Null Oil to darken up the skin, to give it shading, because I'm not shading myself. Then I just gotta wait for that to dry, and then it's polka dot time, which is the most intensive part of the paint scheme. Like, it's a very simple scheme. It's one color for skin, one color for extra little fleshy bits. It's either magenta or green, and then white. It's an incredibly basic paint scheme, but the polka dots really just whoosh, put it up. So let's get to oiling. I swear by this stuff. I know a lot of people do. It's just such a good way to get easy shadows. There we go. Let me just splash more of it on. Go. I'm gonna have to do some over the green tendrils, but I'm gonna do that after, because then I can hold it by the tendrils. But there we go. Once this dries, it'll give a nice thing. I'm gonna scoop off some of it so I can still see those greens. There we go. It's always a hard one to show. Okay, now the rest of it. I might have to get a bigger brush, but it just goes, boom. Look at that. Brings out all the details, makes everything look like I know what I'm doing. I'm gonna get a bigger brush. Bigger brush. There we go. Look at the difference from here to here in the color of the skin. And notice how like all those little veins and stuff now appear because Null Oil is amazing. And I don't know why people wouldn't use it. There we go. There we are. It's got a nice sheen to it now. And all those little veins like right here are showing up nicely. So, oh, forgot to do the green sacks. That's what I was forgetting. I was like, I feel like I'm forgetting to do something. And I remember what that something was. This will help darken it, bring it into like comparison with the rest of the paint job. And any parts that I don't hit are just kind of glowing now. There we go. Maybe slap a little bit here. A little bit on his chest hole. And voila. There we go. Nice and brown. Golden, some would say. Go. 1, 2, 3. Oh. Keep forgetting single parts. I gotta do the tendrils on the face. Slap a little bit on. There we go. Need a little bit more. Just to really bring it in. There we go. There we go, see? So, that's done. Next, I'm gonna glue the head in, which I'm not gonna show, that's just putting glue, shove it in there, paint up the polka dots, and then the fun part, the basing. I do a mud base, I put some marine bits on it, you guys will see everything. Tiniest bit spilled onto his white shell right there. So I'm just gonna go over that with white once that dries, and boom. Look at that transformation that a little bit of Null Oil does. All right, time for the next lineup of colors. More white, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple, and some gloss varnish. Let's get started. Okay, so now I gotta do is polka dots. And the way I do polka dots is there's gonna be the exact same amount of each color on the model, and the amount is going to depend on the model. And it's not always the same. I've had warriors that I put like 6 polka dots on of each color. Then I've had warriors where I put 10 polka dots. It depends. The only thing that stays the same is if they're in the same batch. So that kind of differentiates when stuff is painted. But basically, I'm thinking maybe 7 or 8 polka dots on this guy per color. But yeah, let's get started. So the way I like making these colors, I could just buy red paint. I don't like using the speed paints for the dots by themselves. It's not like strong enough. But I like getting some of my white, 1, 2, 3 dots. And then I mix it together and I get my shade of red. It's not always the same, but these are organic creatures. They're not supposed to be the same every time. Like I've gotten it sometimes where it's more pink. I've gotten it sometimes where it's more red. Basically, as long as it is an identifiable color, I'm good. Boom, and this one seems to be slightly more pink, which is fine. So I just grab them. And remember, there's no set pattern, so it's just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And now he has 8 red. You know what? Let me make it 10. 9, 9, 10. There we go. 10 red dots. Sometimes they're dots, sometimes they're slashes. You know, it mixes up sometimes, but overall it's still the same thought process. So, I'm gonna mix up another color. The way I like doing it is the order of the colors I put never matters, but I will always do red and green first, just because I think that looks the nicest to see for me. Like, I'm doing it for myself, but it's still just something I think looks cool. So, a little bit. I put a little too much white last time. Now some green, mix it up. I love these speed paints. I just don't think they look good as like a detail on the shell without proper like the white makes the colors more vivid. You know what I mean? There we go. Green. Now 10 green dots. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, he's got some green on him too. But yeah, it's just this process is going to be repeated a few more times. I'm going to show you guys the end result because I don't think you want to see me, count out 10 every single time with a color. So, 1 second. There we go. Just missing yellow. I'm going to make one last color. Another thing I do is I always make sure to do it in contrasting order, where if I do a shade of red, which is red, yellow, orange, I'll do a shade of, or green isn't a shade of blue, but a darker color, so blue, green, purple. Grab this. 1, 2, 3. Yellow's always the worst color. It's why I save it for last, because it's just such a hard color to get to be stand outish enough. It's the one color, like if I had to cut one color from this, it would be yellow. But even then, like sometimes the yellows are my favorites. So 1, 2. Also, I put too many polka dots. I should have kept 8. 8 was the right amount. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There we are. There's my palette, and there he is. I am very happy with how the dots turned out. Next, I'm going to first I'm going to let this dry. Then I'm going to gloss varnish the poison sacs and the mouth. And then I have a couple more steps, and then I can finally get to the basing. Okay. Next step. See all this lime green? It's all going to be covered in a gloss varnish to give it a little bit of a shine so it stands out from the rest of the model. I'm just going to pour this. It's very viscous, so I'm just going to put some in and get to brushing. It's going to be invisible, like you're not going to see it. It's quite literally, let me pull this up, that clear, dropped some. It's that clear milky liquid. So, I'm going to grab up the one that's spilled. There we go. Let's get to glossing. There we go. That looks gross. And the cool part about this is I don't need to be like exact, because it's just slime. It's not like armor or something where it's like, oh, every single piece was made to do this purpose. It was like, no. Sometimes things are just gross and unequal. There we go. Where's the rest of that spill? Oh well. I'll just have to use a little bit more. That's why I love this mat. Lily got it for me from Walmart. Best thing ever. I never have to worry about spilling stuff onto my desk, which was, granted, a large problem beforehand. Not so much anymore. But gonna do up his tongue or mouth tendrils also. Boom. And then I'm going to do up all those little crevices. So I'm just gonna go and lightly glaze all of them. Boom, boom. There we are. Nice and gloss. The camera kind of picks it up where it's this gross, like it's shinier than everything else. It's got like a sheen to it. It's exactly how I want it to be. So one last step, but that step's going to be part of basing. So let me get my basing materials out and get rid of everything that's not going to be for the basing. Okay. For the basing, I use some grass tufts, Death World Forest for the base rim, mud, technical rot paint, and basing glue. So let's get started. So this is the easiest part of the thing. All I have to do, I have to get a good spot to hold it from, but I'm basically just going to slather mud paint all over the base. Then I need to wait for it to dry. It's a pretty long process. It could take an hour or so, but within that hour, I'm going to work on some bits to put on his base. So you'll see that too. Now, let's get ready. I get all my brushes very cheap from the Dollar Tree or whatever, because I'm very, very brutal with my brushes. So it's easier. This is a very old brush I have specifically for technical paint, because technical paint ruins brushes. It will destroy the brush no matter what brush it is, so I might as well just have a cheap brush that's a throwaway that I'm going to use for this. So let me just wet it a little bit to get it ready. And my mud paste. It's just like this thick brown goop that you're about to see spread onto this model. There we go. I'm just going to grab chunks of it. There we go. Then I start spreading it. Got to make sure to cover up all that white. Usually I prime my bases black, because it covers up, because if it's white, if I don't do a good job on this part, it'll be seen. But if it's black, no one will ever see it. So let me just keep going here, and I will be back when the mud is spread. Okay, the mud has been spread. It's going to dry matte, and that's when I come in with a wash and just wash it a dirty green. But there we go. Now we have to wait for this to dry. Most bases I've dealt with don't have this double ring system that the forge-rolled ones do, so it's going to be a little different than my normal ones, but now we wait for this to dry, and I get some marine bits out to destroy. These are all my bits bags filled with all it says on it, like legs, just Tyrannid parts, tchotchkes, melee arms, terrain bits. So I have a lot to choose from to put onto his base to kind of liven it up a little bit. Alright, so I picked my bits. It is a Death Company arm shoulder pad, a standard marine bag that I'm going to have to snip a little bit of, and this guy. I got a bunch of different marine bits from a guy who was just giving them away, and I'm just like, oh, perfect, this will work great for basing. Look how well he's painted. He's going to be chopped up. Okay, so now I just need to kind of map out where I want these bits placed, and then I'm going to put a little bit of glue and glue them while the mud is still wet, so it looks like they've sunken in. So let me start mapping this out, and you guys will see it. There we go. Got them spread out. I still need to add mud paint on top of them, but that's when the glue dries. That's when this old mud paint dries. That way it kind of bonds, and then I just put a little extra bun, and we're good. But look at this. I'm very happy with how this turns out. This is always like the most free part to do, because it's just, what do I want to do? Like, what can I do? I have all these bits. I have all these options. Let's make it nice and based. There we go. But yeah, now I just need to wait for everything to dry finally. And then I can move on. This will take like an hour or something. And there's nothing I can do in the meantime because all my other parts require this to be dry. So I'll get right back to you guys. Okay, so the glue and him dried. He's there. You see a little bit of the crazy glue burn? That doesn't matter because I'm going to cover it in a wash anyway. So I'm going to grab my Plague Bear's flesh, as the Plague Bear's fresh. Give it a good little shake. Open it up. Grab this brush that I used for the mud. The reason I use this one is because sometimes, it's very hard to get all the mud off of it. And so some of the mud dips into the paint and it gives a little more natural look. Go. There we go. And I don't care about getting it on the base rim because the rim will be covered shortly. But yeah, look at that. This poor blood angel just covered in mud and grime. There we go. Now I just wait for, I noticed a little thing that needs to be filled. One moment. Noticed a gap. Where was it? I was looking out at the camera. There we go, right where that leg is. There we go. Gonna quickly wash that brush off because that's not meant to be a basing brush. There we go. It's clean. But Here we go. Usually the base stands out a tiny bit more because I use red blood angels instead of the black rage ones. But, you know, I figured I have the bit. I think it looks really cool, and it will look really cool on the base. And I should also splash a little bit more on that shoulder pad. There we go. Okay, there's just 2 more steps left to finish off this beautiful 4-year-old model. Look at that. Disgusting. All right. He's painted, glossed, sealed, and his base is painted, mudded, and bitted. 3 steps left. First things first, gonna grab some of this Death World base and give him a painted rim. So I'm gonna grab a different brush for this real quick. There we go. Got this wider tipped brush. Just gonna dunk it in a little bit of water. And let's get started painting this base. So I'm just gonna give it a proper base rim. There we go. And that, there's no like, some of my units have like different colored ones, and that's only because they operate in swarms, so it's easier to identify them when they do that. But this guy won't. I don't think this guy's going on the table at all, ever. He is purely purchased because I thought he looked cool, and he's a Forge World model. But yeah, so let me just do this, and boom. Let me show that off. He now has a painted base. 2 more things though. Now the fun parts. I got a little bit of this technical gunk paste and some grass tufts. They're both pretty easy to put on, so let me start. Just put the model up here so you guys can see it. I have this PVA glue. It's Elmer's glue. I just have this in this kind. I'm just going to put the tiniest... Oh, hold on. There's a little bit of dried glue in the mouth. There we go. Just going to put the tiniest bit. 1, 2, 3. That's enough. Then I'm going to grab some grass tufts. I'm going to grab some big ones for this guy, and then I'm just going to... Boom. And this white glue dries clear. That's the best part. There's no glue burn, there's no nothing. So it's just going to look like the grass is there. Now that the grass is done, one last step. This is going to take a while to dry, but like nothing I'm doing now is going to ruin the rim. So one moment, and let's finish this bad boy up. Okay, so finishing up with this Technical Nurgle's Rot. What I really like about this paint is, let me show you. It looks like goo. So I'm just gonna grab some on my brush, grab the model, and just liberally apply some to his tendrils, to his face. Does this cover up some of my polka dots? Yes. Does it look cool? Yeah. There we go. So those are his things. And then I'm going to also put some on the guy on the base. So I'm just going to slather him up. I'm going to try to cover less details on him with it because this is a very nicely painted model. Go. Not saying mine isn't nicely painted, just you gotta respect the model. There we go. And let's keep going with this. Let's put some on his mouth. you know? Let's get that nice and gunked up. Perfect. On some of these veins. Just like that. Boom. And, do I want to put some on the sacks? I think I'm going to put just a little bit. Just kind of like dap it up with it. Yeah, use it as like a highlight. There we go. On that side. Now, this side. Boom. Yeah, that's good. I like that a lot. Oh, that's still a little wet. Oh, got some on my hand. Gonna spin this, reapply what was lost. There we are. There we go. 24 hours later, he is fully done. The base's mud is dried, so is the texture paint, and so is the gloss, varnish, and base rim. There we go. He is fully done, painted, rimmed, extra detailed up, and he is ready for the box. So I think I'm gonna put him, that's a tough question. I'm gonna have to move some stuff around. Let me just move these. There we go. Another project done, and room opened up for a new project. Next thing I'm working on is I'm waiting for some printed bits to show up, but I'm working on a hive tyrant, my fifth hive tyrant, my fifth and sixth hive tyrant. So you guys are gonna see that. Super excited for that. It's my favorite, it's my favorite Tyranid kit that exists. It's perfect. It has everything you need. Great kit. So yeah, you guys will see it. But thank you for watching, and until next time, до свидания.